And now the first idea to become more consistent is that you want to switch it up. Now let's say your final exams are coming up and you're struggling to stay consistent with the studying. Change the place where you study. So for example, if you've been studying in your room for the whole semester, switch it up, go to the library. Or if you've been studying in the same spot in the library, switch it up. If you're on the first floor, go to the second floor. If you're on the second floor, maybe go to a coffee shop on campus. Do something different, because when you get in the routine of seeing the exact same thing every single time, it's very difficult to stay consistent because it gets quite boring. And this doesn't just apply with studying. So for example, whenever I get bored of watching the same TV show when I'm learning French or Spanish, I switch it up, I find a new TV show. And when I get bored of running in the exact same place and I'm struggling to stay consistent, I find a new route, I discover something different. So whenever you find yourself struggling to stay consistent, switch it up. Now the second idea is that you want to accept that sometimes you're not going to be consistent. Now if you've already accepted that you're not going to be 100% consistent all the time, which no one is by the way, then I promise you, this will actually help you be more consistent. Now before I started training for my half marathon, I had already told myself, Omar, there are going to be times where you're not going to be consistent. So then, when I ended up missing one of my runs because I was injured or because life came in the way, because circumstances alter cases, I was able to tell myself, it's fine. You already knew that you weren't always going to be consistent. So I then ended up minimizing the amount of time of me feeling bad about missing the run, and I was able to get consistent back again. So if you already know that sometimes life comes in the way and you're not always going to be 100% consistent, that will actually lead to you being way more consistent. Because if you already know that you're going to miss some sessions, then you'll spend less time dwelling and you'll get back on the consistency path way faster. And now the third point is that you want to document your journey. Now, when you document your progress, you'll be able to hold yourself accountable. So for example, when I was learning Spanish, I would take a video of myself once a month to track my progress. And now this helped me stay consistent because at the end of the month, when it was time to take a video, I definitely didn't want to be at the same level that I was at before. So when you have something that will help you keep yourself accountable, like documenting your journey, you will definitely stay more consistent, because I assure you, when you're tracking your progress, one of the worst feelings is when you find yourself at the same or even a worse position at the previous video you took. And also, when you document your journey, not only will you keep yourself accountable, but you'll also have something to look back at when you're reflecting on your journey. Like one of my proudest moments is when I look back at my first ever time speaking in Spanish and then comparing it to my level today. So when you have something that shows you where you started on day one and then where you're at today, I promise you, it will really help you stay motivated and you'll be so proud of yourself. And now the fourth point is that you want to aim low enough. Now when I say aim low enough, what I mean is that you want to make the task easier to do than it is not to do. So when you start to lose the motivation and you're lacking the consistency, you want to tell yourself, all I want to do is 10 minutes of Spanish. Not 20, not 30, not an hour, just 10 minutes of Spanish. But you want to do this when you start to lose the motivation and the consistency. Now, when you're learning something for the first time, you're going to have so much motivation at the beginning. And it's actually at the beginning when you have all this motivation that I want you to put in as many hours and as much effort as possible. And I know that might be contradicting the idea of aim low enough, but let me explain. At the beginning, you don't really have a good idea of what low enough is. So I want you to put in a lot of effort, a lot of hours, and see how far can I push myself. And then after putting in all these hours, you're eventually going to reach a point where you're going to be struggling to stay consistent. And then it's exactly at that point when you want to start to aim low enough, because you'll have a pretty good understanding of how far you can go. Because how do you know what low enough is if you don't know how high you can go? So at the beginning, when you're so motivated, put in a lot of effort until you reach the wall. And when you reach the wall, that's when you take a pause and then you set a sustainable plan to be able to stay consistent. And in that plan, you want to aim low enough because you don't want to make it overwhelming where you don't do it when you want to do it. So yeah, aim low enough. And now the fifth point is that you want to make it fun because sometimes we get so lost in the process that we forget to have fun. Now I know that I talked about this idea before in one of my previous videos, but I promise you, I cannot emphasize enough how making the process fun is so important. And now when I say make the process fun, I don't mean that the action itself always has to be fun. Like I know, sitting down and studying for a midterm or a final isn't fun. Life isn't always lovey-dovey and it isn't always possible to make the process fun. But I promise you, if you just take a few minutes to ask yourself, what can I do to make this a little bit more fun? You will find that a few things will come to mind. And if you make the process more fun, you'll be able to stay more consistent because you'll have something to look forward to. So for example, when you're walking to the library, put your favorite playlist with your favorite songs so you get yourself hyped up before going to study. After studying for an hour, buy your favorite drink. Buy your favorite snack from the closest supermarket. Make the process fun. Because when it's more fun, you'll be able to stay more consistent. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video and that I've given you something to think about. And like I always say, this is the Devos way, find your own way. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and I hope to see you soon. Peace!